What's going on, guys? I'm Tim Mahoney with Duramax Tuner.
And I'm Anthony.
Today, we're in the Turbo Bay. Anthony, now in front of me, we got an LB7 Turbo. Before we get to that, let's talk about what happens back here, right?
Yeah.
We call it the Turbo Bay, Turbo Manufacturing Development Area. It's about 15,000 square feet. We got, what, 6 or 7 machines now. We got a whole group of builders, machinists. It's really a team back here. Ironically, this morning, talking about how the LB7 was the first drop-in turbo line back in 13 that we developed. When we moved in here 4.5 years ago now, this place was completely empty. So it's really developed. It's really been cool to see the manufacturing side. It's been cool to get some of these guys who just specialize in machining alone and not so dialed into, you know, the tuning side of the industry, if you will. So let's talk about this LB7 charger that's in front of us. So with our DIY budget build, this is what we're going to be putting on. We've done carb testing with this guy. We're waiting on an EO. We've got 49 state going on. We got 64, 67, and VVT all the way through LML. We've done our L5P testing. So this is like the foundation of our line. This is a 64. We talked about in an earlier video that we're going to do kind of a hybrid build, if you will, 64 with a 67 back half. Stock turbocharger, why are we not using the stock turbocharger?
Stock turbo's got a couple pinch points, if you will. It makes good power out of the box from the factory for what guys use it for. But once you start to modify them, usually about 530 horsepower is where it maxes out. Just, it can't flow enough air out of the exhaust. The compressor wheel's super inefficient. You can throw a boost increase valve. Guys back in the day used to just snip the wastegate in half and put a plug in there.
Why not, dude?
You can just overspeed the shit out of it. So, I mean, it's just, the stock turbo has its limitations. You're just asking for a failure. So that's more or less one of the main reasons why we're not using it. Secondly, with all the development and all the technology we have into the Stealth program, both the 64 and the 67, we wanted to capitalize and utilize that. So getting something with an improved compressor wheel where we can tow, prevent surging with that 11 blade wheel. And we have where the up pipes bolt up, that's machined. The turbine is larger. The machining is done on the exhaust housing as well. So any chance that we can improve airflow on something like this, that's going to help us limit, or not limit, but take us from that 530 ceiling the stock charger is going to have and move that up to 650 on the 64 and roughly around 800 on the 67.
So you talk about those two differences. You talk 630, 650, 660 maybe on a 64, and you talk 800 on a 67, right? We did it with our Apache build, actually repeatedly. We did a second build with the heads on that one. Pretty cool to see. We pushed that truck to 820, 830. Other than power, what are the differences between a 64, 67? Who is the right person for the 64, and when do I want to extend a little bit and get that 67?
The difference between the two is really spool up and drivability.
Okay.
I mean, at Duramax Tuner, at Calibrated Power, we focus on drivability. I think like that's where Nick, way back in the day, and kind of when you came into the side of things to do tuning, focus on drivability. Power's great. Everyone likes to see that dyno number, but how often are you tuned 5 foot to the floor? So developing a charger that's not like an S300 or 400 that, you know, drives great up top, makes great power, but drive down low, it sucks. Having a stock appearing turbo where, you know, for the 64 up a 650, but that's typically for the person where, hey, I'm going to tow, I'm going to daily drive, maybe you build the trans, do some fuel upgrades, but you're more focused on, I get in this truck every day, I work it, I use it, I depend on it, and focusing on drivability. That's more for the 64. Now, the 67, like you're mentioning as well, still drives great. I think, you know, we're shifting that spool up window up a few hundred RPMs, but nothing to the point where you're like, man, this really just doesn't drive nice. It still drives good. It's just the power range is shifted up.
More of your weekend warrior. Maybe you do tow with it, but you don't tow every day. You're not a hot shotter. You're not looking to be at that 450, 500 horsepower towing level, right? You're more out there sled pulling, having a good time. Maybe you got your buddies in the back and you guys are smoking tires down the street. So backing into that hybrid and why we went with that, right? It's not something we typically offer to a customer. It's kind of a custom, not one-off. We do it. Twin applications, we'll usually do a hybrid build. So it's a 64 front half and a 67 back. Reason we did that was for sled pulling to be class legal in that work stock, but still get that extra flow if we really want to lean on the turbocharger, right? Peak power benefit, what are we talking? 20, 30 extra horsepower?
Minimum,
maybe.
I'd say.
Maybe a little bit of loss in drivability, but for what we're trying to do, we're going to push the truck.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, just to build off what you're saying, we want to be able to stay class legal, but we want to be able to, I mean, at this point, it's a sled pull truck. We're not taking it on that trip yet. So we want to beat the shit out of it. We want to get as much out of this as we can, gain every single advantage that we possibly can from this truck, and be able to flow as much exhaust gas as possible to get all those hot exhaust gases out. Granted, we're limited by the compressor, but any chance we can improve airflow, that's going to translate to power. That's going to translate to even inches or feet on the sled pull track.
Perfect, perfect. We got a few other things in front of us. We got both boost tester kits here for the LB7. More or less, if you're doing a turbo install, these are one of the things you want to do. Even if you got a stock truck with 150,000 miles on it, I guarantee you probably got a boost leak on the truck. Anthony, anything else you want to add today?
I just think that the boost test kits are vital, regardless of daily driving, weekend warrior, or towing. I feel like in a scenario like we're using the truck, where it's literally everything you can do with it, we're going to tow across the country, we're going to beat on it in the sled pulls, we're going to take it out, have fun with it. Even something super small, a leak, anywhere in the system, if you can find that, nail it down, and fix it, these are going to be the tools to help you do it.
All right, guys, we're going to be heading over to the Dyno Bay. Let's see what this thing can do. Also on our list, we're going to be stopping at WC Fab. We're going to talk to the owner, founder, the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Worley. He's going to talk about the high flow bundle that he put together for this truck, why he would recommend it. Is it a stage 3 high bundle? I'm not sure what they call it now, but it's all his goodies. We're going to dive into that with him. We're going to have some power numbers that he can back into and explain why we see these power differences. So keep checking in, keep following us. Thanks, guys.